to welcome Juntu Ahjee to the Prolific Pulse Poetry Podcast and YouTube. This is your host, Lisa Tomey. Welcome.
Thank you, Lisa.
It's great to have you here today. I understand you just got off work, your day job.
Yes, ma'am.
Is your
Yes, ma'am.
day job involved writing poetry?
I wish it would be a lot more therapeutic.
It's every poet's dream. But a lot of what we write about with poetry has to do with how we live our lives. And if we didn't have all these other lives that we live, what would we write about? You know?
Exactly.
Well, what's our
Exactly.
inspiration?
Yeah, I think poetry, um, writing in general, it does come from just living. Just life's experience.
Hmm.
Um, just pretty much everything that I've learned my short little 52 years, soon to be 52 years. So it's been interesting. It's been a very interesting experience for sure.
Yeah. You've had a very full life up to your 52 years. I tell you what, if the rest of your life is anything like what you've done up to this point, then my goodness, you've been a busy man. Kind of jealous, you worked with hip hop artists and then like, oh my goodness,
Yeah,
ghostwriter for them. Ah, I'm amazed.
no, that happened. That actually happened on accident.
Oh
I
yeah.
had, yeah, when I moved to Seattle, I hadn't embarked on that purposely. It was just I had relatives there that were in the music business, and we were living together at the time. And they asked me, they said, "Man, do you rap?" I was like, "Man, I'm a writer. I don't rap, But it didn't really occur to me. I should have known that, rap, all hip hop is poetry,
Hmm.
with the music. And they said, "Well, write a rhyme," So I did that, and they liked it and said, "Well, we had a rule back then, if you write it, then you got to spit it. It means you got to get on the mic and you got to rap it." And
Right.
yeah, I didn't really like my voice, but everybody seemed to, nah, man, just get on there and do it, try it, It
Hmm.
was a lot of fun. It was a lot of hard work. I learned a lot about engineering, producing, and just, I was approached by some local hip hop artists to be a ghostwriter. So I was,
Hmm.
a little flattered by that.
Yeah, that is flattering.
Yeah, I was, so it was an interesting. It's been an interesting ride. That's
Mhm.
been almost 20 years ago now.
20 years, young
Almost 20
man.
years ago, yeah. So some of those lyrics, I wouldn't dare say now. They're a little bit,
Uh-huh.
off color, you know, colorful, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's to add a little flavor to life, right?
Yeah, it was interesting. I kind of got a small little taste of what it was like to be a celebrity. So
Hmm.
of course
Yeah.
I went by a different name then, but you know,
Mm.
hip hop name, whatever. you know,
Okay. Ah, what was your hip hop name? Are you allowed to say?
they call me Mr. G.
Mr. G. Okay.
Yeah. So also I want to give a shout out real quick to Shirelle Jackson for linking us together. That was
Yeah.
that was a very sweet gesture of hers. I'm a huge fan of her book. It's
Oh, yeah.
yeah, one of the
That
best.
is something.
Yeah, it was amazing. I just got my paperback copy last week, and it's
Mm-hmm.
just added a new addition to my library. I'm starting a new library now here at my
Yeah.
house. Yeah, I'm very very proud of her. Of her accomplishments. She's definitely been a great inspiration and a great friend. So
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even remember how I met her, but I am so glad I did. She and I, we chat back and forth sometimes, and
mhm.
she's been on the podcast and just real impressed with her quality. This
Yes,
quality with her poetry is just, it's the type of poetry you can only hope to write. So,
absolutely. I mean, it's like on a level like Nikki Giovanni. Just
mhm.
amazing. Just, I was like,
Yeah.
wow, I ain't know. I mean, it made me go back to school. I was like, I got to go
Mhm.
back and learn a few things. It's just, 'cause I didn't. I mean, I know all poems don't necessarily have to rhyme. They
Mm-mm.
don't have to. I was just, I'm just wired that way. I got to make things rhyme, and it's
Mhm.
got to have metaphors, and but her poetry is storytelling.
Yeah.
She was telling stories in her poems, and I was
Mhm.
just blown away by it. Totally blown away by it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm real pleased with her work. Now you were awarded in 2019 the National Poetry Award for Nubian Poets. Tell me about that. What poem was
Yes, ma'am.
that for?
That also came on a fluke. I was going through a phase where I was just writing a lot of poems. This is before I got into book writing, writing novels.
Mhm.
So for a few years, I was going through a phase. This is my post little rap career. Um, Moving back to the Midwest, and I was dealing with a lot of lost a lot of relatives. A lot of relatives were passing away. Left and
Mhm.
right. And so poetry to me was getting back into the swing of writing again was a release for me, you
Mhm.
know. And so I was making a long story short. My brother, we were talking about the old neighborhood, that we grew up in, and I was like, 81st Street, and he kind of was giving me some ideas, and I was just kind of reminiscent of a time, back in the day where we were more of a community-based neighborhood,
Mhm.
and so I just was sitting down, and I was like, I wonder, can I put that into a poem? And I did, and then I was on Facebook. I had just got back on Facebook a couple of years ago, and there was I got sent a notification of a poetry contest, you know. And I said, man, what the heck, it was, I think first prize was $250.
Mhm.
I said, what the heck, what I got to lose, So I submitted it, paid a little $3, registration fee, and I honestly forgot about it. And then the next thing I know, I guess 3 months later, I got an email saying that I won, first place. And I was like,
Great.
okay, well, this is different. I never won anything. That was really my first. I don't participate in contests or play the
Mhm.
lotto or anything like that. I don't really gamble no more. So, but I was surprised. I got first place out of hundreds of people. So I was
Mhm.
like, wow, okay, you know. And some of the poems that I read of people that was in the contest were very good. I thought, but they picked me, and
Mhm.
that's how that happened. So,
Yeah. Are you going to read that poem for us?
yes, I can. Give me 1 second, Lisa. I got it right
All
here.
right.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I literally just walked in the door from work. Okay. So the poem is 81st Street, and it reads like this. On this block resided men with mighty pride. In these households stood strong women by their side, connecting the gap where all neighbors meet, created an unbroken family on 81st Street. A small piece of turf that was less than a mile, where it truly took a village, where it truly took an entire village to raise a child. At a time when brothers and sisters were sold to keep, nothing came between us on 81st Street. A house divided could not stand, the foundation that bonded on turbulent land, in a world of wars where the ground is below 6 feet, a covenant of protection shielded over 81st Street. The camaraderie we shared was unmatched by none. Earnest and genuine respect to the old from the young. Gestures of feeding love for all those to eat. Hunger could not prosper on 81st Street. Reflecting back as an adult upon a special time of all the treacherous places I've seen riddled with crime, I can only remember winners learn how to beat, playing with friends on 81st Street. That's it.
I like that. I like that a
Thank you.
lot.
Thank
Says a
you.
lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, just, just compare it growing up being a child of the '70s and growing up during that time, it was basically I got a novel that I started on talking about basically the black community uh, prior to crack cocaine epidemic.
Mhm.
How we came
Mhm.
up, and how the close knit neighbors, were like surrogate parents to the kids, and the ice cream man and different things like that. Teachers would come to your house. If you failed an assignment, they would come pay you a visit. They would just pop up on you. Just different things like that. The church was sacred ground. You know, uh, these things now are lost, I think. You know, in today's world. So I was just reminiscing on that. That's kind of where that came from. And I decided, well, my
Yeah.
brother encouraged me to, why don't you write a book about it? You know, it's like, well, why not?
Yeah.
So
I think that'll be good. I look forward to reading that when you get it done.
well, thank you, Lisa. Yeah, I'm about halfway through chapter one right now. I've been so busy.
Okay.
Currently got 4 books uh, published as of right now that I published actually in 2020. I don't know. I was like a madman just writing. Just that was really my second job, was just writing. So
Yeah, in fact, I was going to share the screen because I pulled up your Amazon page.
oh, okay, great.
Let's see. Yeah, we have Ebonology, which is the one that I have.
Okay.
And yeah, and then you have some others listed on here. Let's see.
Yes.
Papa's Boys. I actually think I'm going to get that because it just looked like some kind of book for me to read like that.
It's a family. It's more of a family dramedy.
Yeah.
You know. Uh,
Dramedy.
yeah,
Yeah.
dramedy. It's a lot of comedy. It's
Hmm.
romance, and it talks about fatherhood. Grandfatherhood, and just different things.
Right.
Different
Sounds
things
like
that relate to me. It's more based on some of my personal experiences and experiences of people that I know.
yeah. It's got kind of a reminiscent feel to it, I bet.
Yeah, yeah.
Then you have the legend of Sister Hattie Harris. Looks like you have in the return of Sister Hattie Harris.
Yes, ma'am. That's part of a that's part of a 3 book series that I started with.
Hmm.
Um, so those are more action crime, driven novels, historical
Okay.
thrillers, if you want to call it that. They're a
Ooh.
little bit more grittier for sure. Uh,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
that was just something, once again relating to my family, just some of the like women, like my grandmother, like what was she like as a young woman? Some of the
Hmm.
struggle that she had to go through. And my great aunts and
Oh, wow.
women of that era, like going back 100 years. And
Uh-huh.
so I just kind of took that idea and just made it into like a crime novel or action. I've always wanted as a boy, I wanted to create my own like action hero, heroine. Like I grew up watching
Hmm.
Pam Grier, you know, I grew up on
Yeah.
Pam Grier, and
Oh my goodness. To get
yeah,
me started on Pam Grier,
yeah,
because that's
love
the
Pam Grier.
girl. I think I've seen everything she's been in, and probably at least 3 times.
Yeah, love Pam Grier, and just those women in the '70s, and just action, action heroines. Then later on, I got really attracted to like Sigourney Weaver's character in the Alien movies, and um, Linda
Mhm.
Hamilton in the Terminator movies. I was like, just tough chicks, but very very graceful and feminine. But they can get tough on you if they have to. You
Right.
know, and there was a lot of women back in those days that were like that for real. They
Yeah.
didn't play with you. So
Hmm.
I just kind of took that idea and just kind of ran with it, made it into a. Now the third book is still in pre-production. I haven't really got to the gist of how I want to go with the third book. I just kind of want to see what kind of following it's going to have, with the first 2 books before I
Hmm.
proceed with that. So, but I mean, they're entertaining. I mean, I haven't,
Yeah.
no one's really said anything. I had being sort of a rookie, first time novel, not a writer, but as a novelist or author. I had a lot of editing issues that I had to fix.
Yeah.
So, that was very challenging.
That's
Thank
always a deal with everybody is the editing.
Yeah, editing is probably the hardest part about it, and so after Papa's Boys, I just decided to take a break. Matter of fact, I just got re-edited. I'm gonna reissue it today. So if you would like a copy, Lisa, I can definitely hook that up for you. Wouldn't be a problem. So
Oh, that'd be great. I appreciate that. Yeah,
yeah,
it's my kind of reading. I mean, yeah, I like things that have the possibility that it could be a real life story. Something that's pulled from some real experiences that have been maybe even fictionalized in that, but that have that real life flavor to it.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. So that's for all my books so far, and then Ebonology just kind of was just I wanted to stay open. I don't want to be a one trick pony. I just wanted to be able to do other things. Um,
Hmm.
the first two books were, like I said, were very crime driven and, violent and whatnot. And I was kind of like, look, I don't want to get stuck. People, read that and like it and like, what else you got? What else you got? It's like, no, I got other things. So after the first two Hattie Harris books came Ebonology. And basically it's just a collection of all the poems I've written, just in the last several years. And then they're very topical of today's times of what's going on. Um, yeah, I just try to find imagery to put to those particular
Yeah.
poems. I mean, just ideas. I mean, it was just something that I was toying around with. I didn't think no
Mhm.
one would ever actually like it, honestly. But it was just something for me, just as an artist, to try something different. Um,
Yeah.
and it has a little bit of history in there. I talk about Dr. King and Malcolm X and just different people, people who inspired me to even get into poetry. Of course, Miss Nikki Giovanni and James Baldwin. Um, then you have, of course, the usual suspects. Then you have the unusual suspects like Bruce Lee, Richard
Mhm.
Pryor, Muhammad Ali. Those are those guys I grew up with and admired very much. And they all had their own poetic way of expressing themselves,
Mhm.
which definitely left a lifelong impression on me.
Yeah. Now, do you have some poetry to share from that book?
um, I have a soldier's son. Uh,
Okay.
let me see if I can. That's a dedication to my father, um, he had just passed away when I wrote this poem
Mm.
6 years ago. So let's see, a soldier's son it goes. In the battlefield of love and anger, a soldier's son never cries. In the midst of pain, despair, and danger, a soldier's spirit never dies. A broken man who bonds with mighty pride finds reassurance from family ties. The strength he shows through endurance to God only resonates from those who survive. A soldier never leaves a man behind. In the combat of good and evil, many were left. A soldier's prayers will never decline because Jesus wept and hoped that faith be kept. A soldier can fight for right and wrong, misunderstood by many, misjudged by some. A prophet's story was told in lyrics of the same song. In a war of souls, a man walks alone and trusts no one. Life is a promise, death is a reality, but a soldier's son can never cry. Only God represents immortality because the soldier's spirit never dies.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your father was a staff sergeant. I see.
Yes.
You lost in 2015. And did you write that after your dad passed? Is that what you said?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I really like that a lot. I wrote a devotion for my dad, not in the form of a poem, but it makes me kind of want to.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, he was also a military man.
Yeah, them guys they're tough.
They are. They sure
They're
are.
tough. I just like I said, that poetry was my healing, for
Hmm.
with because after dad it was like just back to back to back to back. And so I just went through a whole entire series. Everything in Ebonology was a series of poems that I'd written during that
Hmm.
time period. and came across, just some things that were topical. You know, I decided 2 years ago to start a business, start my own little production company. I also have a podcast too that I do. I haven't been as active with the podcast. I've been so busy with books, but I got 82 episodes on there on that podcast.
Awesome.
You
What's the
know,
focus on your podcast?
I'm sorry.
What's the focus on your podcast?
Oh, just talking about topical subjects. I try to stay away from gossip. Um,
Hmm.
I don't get into celebrity gossip and stuff like that unless
Right.
it's something meaningful. You know,
Hmm.
um, just based on my opinions. It really started with me wanting to find missing kids, missing children.
Hmm.
There was a very disturbing story that came out 2 years ago about a little 5-year-old child. Was now she might have been 4. Malia Davis down here in Texas, and I remember when I mean I don't really follow news stories that much, but I just happened to follow that one.
Hmm.
And from the time she was missing, and then they found out, you know, she was, had perished at the hands of people that knew her, her own family,
Yeah.
and it just tore me up. Something about that story just really messed me up. And then
Right.
I was getting these news feeds about missing children, missing black women, young women, and it's like, man, I didn't know what to do. So I saw a friend of mine who's a YouTube content creator has a podcast as well through Anchor. And I
Hmm.
just, I reached out to him. I said, man, how'd you get your podcast started? And he said, man, it's free. Just go to Anchor and .com, fm.com, and
Yeah.
they'll walk you through it and set it up. And there it was. I did that back in the summer of 2019, and here it is. Almost 2 years later. 82 episodes in. I always put in the description box, information on where to find missing children, and the 800 crisis number, and things that, I mean, just trying to do my part. It's almost like a
Yeah.
public service, really. It's not about me, but
Mhm.
just an extension of what I'm doing. you know
Well, that's great. I mean, you never know. And somebody might hear something and, remember something that they saw that could help find a child.
right, you never know who's listening, so
You never know. Yeah, I
I
do
had,
podcast surfing all the time.
yeah, I think if everybody just do their part, to try to help someone. I believe in paying it forward. I mean, I've been blessed, so far in my life. I've had some bad things happen too, but overall, I think I've been very, very blessed. Just survived. I survived COVID last month. I had COVID. So
Oh boy.
yeah, so I made it through
Ooh,
that.
that's
Now,
that's a tough one. I'm glad to have you here to tell about it.
yes, ma'am, me too. Matter of fact, when you had reached out to me, I was just getting over COVID. I was in the middle of getting over it. I had
Hmm.
been off work. So yeah, so I was like, yeah, I'll be there. I don't plan on going nowhere.
Not.
Yeah, so it was definitely a blessing. This has all been a big blessing. I'm very, very
Yes.
grateful.
I just got my first injection last week because I qualify under old people qualifications. So I
Mm.
just have one more to get. Still don't feel 100% confident about it. So.
No, and I mean, I have nothing against. I just don't trust. I'm from one of those people. I can't take vaccines. The
Hmm.
last vaccine I took was back in 1991, through a company I used to work with, and I was down for about 2.5, almost 3 weeks. It made me so sick.
Hmm.
Lost
Hmm.
weight, and they didn't know what was wrong with me. They didn't know if I had AIDS or what. They didn't know. My parents, at the time, were both alive, and
Hmm.
nobody knew. They know what was going on with me. And so once the vaccine finally got out of my system, I got back to normal again. I was like,
Hmm.
I won't do that again ever. Now, of
Yeah.
course, as a child, we have to get vaccinated as children. We have to
Hmm.
do this, but I just had a bad reaction to that one. I
Yeah.
was 22 years old, and I was in the greatest shape of my life. I didn't really have a lot of pre-existing conditions or problems, but it was just a
Mhm.
flu vaccine.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't taken one since. I said, well, if I get the flu, there's remedies for the flu. So
Hmm.
I just rather do that and just,
Take a
sweat it
chance.
out. Yeah. But of course, this
Yeah.
COVID is a little different. I know that, I do understand. But
Yeah. It's a whole different
I would
deal.
feel a lot better if the vaccine had been around for a few years. Let it kind of
Hmm.
circulate. Let it get around, and we'll see where it's at. Then I may consider doing that. But no, it's too new. Nah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't trust it.
Now, do you have another book of poetry coming up? It's been all this year, last one for a while.
Um, Lisa, that's a good question. I did think about Ebonology 2, book 2.
Hmm.
I do have actually I actually I written a poem yesterday and posted it on
Hmm.
Facebook, my Facebook page if you want to see it. But I hadn't really I think I might have written 2 poems in the last year
Hmm.
or so. I just really haven't I just really hadn't had time. I'm going to get back into it. But yeah, to answer your question, there will be an Ebonology book 2. I'm not
Okay.
sure when it will be finished, but I do want to. I want to accumulate enough poetry at least to keep it interesting.
Yeah.
It's not going to be nowhere near as good as Sherelle's book. But I do definitely want to keep the momentum going. I mean, if people like it, then I would like to continue on that path.
Hmm.
For sure.
Yeah. Now, is there anything I haven't asked you that you'd like to share with us?
Um. Well, I don't know. This is a new experience for me. This is a new. It's like being on an interview, like being on someone interviewing me and interested in me. I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess I'm interested in somebody. So just just made a lot of mistakes in the past, and learn from those mistakes, and just try to. I don't consider myself much of as a militant revolutionary as I used to be. I grew. I learned and grew that there's just good and evil, in the world. It's not so much about race, what I'm saying, as much as I thought it was, but that comes with time. You got to grow and get around and travel and talk to different people, meet people, and you realize that, because there's people in my group that I got the most resistance, honestly, from people in my own group, you know,
Hmm.
and that's kind of where that inspiration from my most recent poem, Blackened, came from. It just kind of came from that. It actually came in a dream the other night.
Oh.
I was a little hesitant to even share it. I was just kind of like, this is gonna put some people off. They might get turned off, But at the
Hmm.
same time, the truth will set you free, you
Hmm.
know. So
That's true.
I say, people like it. It's like anything else. They're either gonna like it or they're not. You can't.
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm not from that. I'm not from this. I don't care about being liked. I'm not. I'm not doing this for views and likes and all that. I'm just. It's a
Hmm.
passion. You
Yeah.
know. I started as a child in the late '70s. Telling these little horror stories with one of my cousins. We would try to come up see who had the best, who could tell the best, scary story or whatever. And because back then, I don't know if you remember, but it was back in those days. It's like around the time when Halloween came out and all those slasher flicks came out and Friday the 13th and all that. So we was kids, we was trying to outdo each other, trying to tell the best story. And one of my homeroom teachers got a hold of one of my stories. I accidentally took it to school with me. And it was pretty disturbing. So she called my mom and they had a talk and they called me into, I got called into the principal's office and, you know, I learned how to be a storyteller sitting in that principal's office. I never forget. I learned how to tell stories. Every time I get in trouble, I would just
Mhm.
come up with a good story, a real good story, convincing. I was sitting in court, came up with another good story. I said, wait a minute, no, it actually happened this way. This is how it really happened. So the judge was like, he did what you did, just started laughing. He's like, get out of here, kid. Get out of my court. You know. So that's kind of been my life. But I
Mhm.
never really took it serious until recently. I just, kind of just, I'd written a couple of screenplays. I'm also, in fact, when people read my books, they say it's like watching a movie because my background comes from screenwriting. So
Mhm.
I'm visual. I try to put people in the story, make them feel a part of it. So
Mhm.
that's kind of where that comes from. It comes from my background as a screenwriter, and
Mhm.
I'm also a music aficionado. So I'm always thinking about when I'm writing. I'm listening to music, and so I'm trying to be in that mood and then in that mode. So yeah, so that's kind of a little bit of background. And
Mhm.
my name Jontu is broken down into five elements. J meaning jewel, U for uncanny, N for narrator, T for thoughtful, and the U for unbreakable. So that's kind of how it's broken down. And then IG, the last
Oh,
name, yeah, the last name IG is a Jamaican proverb for everlasting king. So
okay.
that's kind of how my name is broken down. So
Oh, wow. That's
yeah,
awesome. I love it.
thank you.
Well, thank you, John, too, for being with us today. Hope you have a
No, thank
wonderful rest of your day.
no, thank you, Lisa. This has been a privilege.
All
This
right.
has
Well,
been
thank
a
you.
privilege.
It's been a privilege to me as well.
Yeah, and I will send you a copy of Papa's Boys today.
Okay.
Just on me on the house, just for being on your show. So
Well, thank you.
you just leave me some feedback if you like it or if it's
Okay.
good or bad. Just I appreciate all your feedback. So
All right. Will do.
all right,
Thank you.
thank you, Lisa. Take care.
You too.
All right, bye bye.